So I got the 2010 Subaru financed. I got the 93 Civic financed. Got to finish some stuff on the Subaru. I just got to do 2 ground wires. But I already got the CRV, her trade-in, and she's already driving it. So I got to finish just putting those 2 wires on. Got to register the Civic tomorrow to transfer the title and the Subaru. And let's go drive the CRV and let's see if there's a lot we gotta do there. So maybe her trade-in, which is one that I had before. So she's actually trading the car in. I sold her. And it was great. Had like new timing belt, new water pump. She's put some new stuff on as far as I know. Had brand new tires, rotors, brakes, all kinds of stuff. All right, here we go. Well, besides being a little dirty, the CRV actually looks pretty good. It's actually pretty dirty. It's not horrible. I've definitely seen worse. But yeah, it took me a minute. She left me the key fob, and I guess the exterior door don't fit the ignition key, so evidently it must have been changed or something. But it's ice cold air conditioner. Windshield's tinted. The actual front windshield is tinted. You probably can't tell, but it's got some stains on the seats, and there's some stuff in it, but she's going to get some things out still of her own. She's left some of her belongings in here. But, I mean, overall, this car here, I sold this car to her, and it was a really, really good running car. When I got it, it had, I think we need a shock in the front, it sounds like. It had a, it seemed like the timing belt might have been a tooth off. I never really fooled with much of that. It seemed just a little weak. You know, it may have been the cat stopped up, who's to say. But it had a horrible idle, and I changed idle air control valve, done some stuff to it. The timing belt was way too tight, so I ended up loosening up just a hair. But it's a great running car, great mileage. Don't have any check engine lights on. She's drove it forever. And so there comes the police. But she's drove it forever, and so we're going to jail today, it seems like. But she's had it forever, and so she wanted that 2010. She's got this one. She still owed a little bit on it, and I gave her a break on the Subaru Outback for this thing. And so, you know, it's my cousin. And she needed a newer car, and that 2010 Outback, man, that thing's really, really nice. It's comfortable. It drives really well. It's a good little vehicle for her and for her kid. So I think it's a, you know, something you know, she needed, and I can sell this to somebody else. And this isn't a bad car. She was okay with this car. Just gives her something a little more modern, a little less miles, fresh service. Everything's been redone. This one's 250,000. That one's 170, 180,000, something like that. And so that thing had new tires. It just had the rotors turned and all that, so she don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And generally what I do when I get them is I'll turn the rotors and put pads and brakes and tires and stuff on them. This has a low tire. When I sold it to her, I put new tires on this one too. So everything that I put on it's probably run its course, so we'll go through the tires and brakes, and probably needs a good oil change. I dare say she's been changing the oil like she should, but I get it, you know, she works a ton. She works a ton. But it's good people, it's family, and she needed a decent car, so we ended up with another decent car, and my kid, my daughter actually, and her daughter, they may need a vehicle, so we may just put this one to them, and well, she's got a good car, so we'll figure it out. All right, here we go. All right, so here's our little ghetto blaster CRV. Tinted windshield, got some dark tint all around it. It's got factory everything pretty much. It does have newer headlights. I think they're actually HID. This one's kind of dingy now, but they both did look brand new like that. This one's kind of dirty. It's got some rust in the quarter panels right there on both sides. Other than that, it's not really anything. It's nasty. It don't really have any major damage, I don't think. It's got some stuff there going on. Talked to my paint guy. He said you could paint these bumpers and these spots, fix all that, and polish it out. So we might do something with this thing. All right, so you see my little ghetto blaster CRV. I'll get the camera set up, get the lift hooked up to the CRV. We'll get the hood open and kind of see what kind of condition this thing's in, start giving it a once over. I think it does need struts. Got a tire leaking down. We'll check the brake pads and stuff out, kind of see what this thing's gonna need, and make a decision if we're just gonna flip it or if we're gonna try to rock this thing. I don't know what we're gonna do just yet, but we'll figure it out. All right, here we go. Alright, well, it's got a ton of oil underneath it right here. So either, to me, even though it's wet right here, it looks like it's gummed up. So I think it might have a valve cover issue. It could be this gasket too, but I doubt it. Looks more like a valve cover thing. It's about a half gallon low on coolant, and it barely was showing oil on the stick. So it's definitely leaking oil, and it's definitely leaking coolant. And I spilled some, so I don't know if it's leaking anywhere in particular, but it's a Honda. We can fix it. I got 2 or 3 LS laying around, and yeah, we can get it straightened out. But yeah, so all right, here we go. This is all-wheel drive CRV. So we'll have diff fluid and stuff in this one to check. It's automatic. If this thing was a manual and it was all-wheel drive, I'd probably for sure keep this thing. I probably would have never sold it the first time. But we'll see what all it needs. We'll service it. If it's too much, we'll do some repairs. And if it's pretty good shape, we may, where did I grab 16? Why did I grab 16? But if it's too far gone, we'll may do a little more in-depth stuff, but for now we'll probably just change the fluids and we'll get it registered and drive it a little bit, insure it, give the oil a change. So this will be just a basic oil change on the CRV. It's just a regular drop the plug here, let her drain. The filter will be up on the back, so if you'll follow the exhaust right here, back to behind the motor and go straight up, you'll be looking at the oil filter. I think it's like on a, what you call it, it's a 6607, or either a I think it might be a 2808 on these, for your Hondas or whatever. The drain plug don't feel good already. I don't know who's changed it last or when. But you'll have that where they're a little questionable, especially as many times if oil gets changed a lot. You'll have, and it is black too. It is black. Very, very dirty. So don't seem to have any exhaust smell. You can smell them have exhaust or fuel smell to them. Sometimes that'll indicate there's an issue. It's running too rich, or got maybe a hay gasket leak where you're getting your exhaust is getting into your oil somehow, some way, and that can happen. But yeah, doesn't seem to have any issues like that. We'll let this drain. It's pretty nasty, and I'll get the oil filter dug out, and I'm going to end up getting nasty changing oil filter. But either way, here we go. So yeah, it's definitely a 2808 oil filter in a STP. It was possibly one I put on it when I sold this thing more than a year or so ago. Maybe even 2. It's possible. So maybe at least a year and some change, I think. So either way, it's getting changed today. We're putting the oil in it. It was a little chattery, it was a little loud, but it was low. So you'll notice if your oil gets old, starts getting broke down, your motor will be a little loud. Or if your oil gets low, it'll start being a little loud. If you pay attention to your vehicle, you should notice those things. So, but all right, we'll let it drain some more. I've got the filter changed already, and we'll get the oil put in, get a crank, let it do its thing, top it off. Well, at least know we got good oil and plenty of coolant in it to run it to check everything else. But I think we do have a bad shock, so we'll see where that goes. But all right, here we go. All right, so now we got 4.5 US quarts of 10W30 STP in this thing. The half a gallon of coolant, I just went straight antifreeze because it's probably mixed already. And I do believe, what did I see under there? The rear diff bushings, not the bushings themselves, but it goes up to a higher piece. Those things are probably worn. The drive shaft could probably use some universal joints and stuff. I think everything's still pretty solid. The inner tie rod on the driver's side is pretty bad, so definitely that needs replaced. I may just do both, inners and outers. That would make that steering a lot more rigid, and it could probably use some shocks, I do believe. So I'll make a decision how far I want to go with this thing, how much money I want to put into it, what brand, what level parts I want to put into it, or just factory replacement, or just the local parts store, get it done and get it out kind of thing. And we'll go from there. So yeah, but I think overall this car's pretty sound. I do believe it's got some leaks and stuff, oil leaks here and there, so I'll check all that stuff out, kind of drive it a little bit. She's still got to clean her stuff out, but we'll give it once over, drive it, keep it on the road a little bit, and see if we can kind of dial in some things that need to be done. But just being underneath it, messing around, I did find the inner tie rod's like extremely, it's not like gone, but it's got a lot of play into it. It has a lot, probably at least a ½ inch travel on that inner tie rod on the driver's side, so that definitely needs to be replaced. So we'll just go from there. If I'm going to sell it outright, I may spend a little money on it and give it that extra mile if I'm going to finance it. Sometimes you end up in a bottomless pit of money. You can go as far as you possibly can, and then they may crash it, so I'll make it, it's safe, it's roadworthy. It may wear that tire on the driver's side a little more excessive than the other, but that's about all it would do. And I think a bad shock, so you can hear those shock kind of clanking, but I think that's the only thing wrong with this car overall, and a little bit of oil leaks. But I think it's a good car. I think it'd be a pretty solid vehicle for somebody. Now I just got to decide what I want to do with it. I got to build GSR, manual swap it, all-wheel drive, boost it. I don't know. We'll see where we're going. All right, here we go. All right, so that way I don't have to worry about if I open the door, it don't hit the CRV. So, and it's sitting on the lock, so we should be good right there. I think I'm gonna call it a day. It's going on 6 o'clock on the money, actually. I don't really have a good starting point on anything right now. I'm kind of in between. I don't want to get tore into this tonight. I don't want to get tore into have to move a bunch of stuff to get into the truck over here. The Miata, I still haven't made up my mind, and it's not priority on my list at the moment. Like the CRV, getting all the drift car stuff ready. Tomorrow I've got a rear wheel bearing or something on the passenger side of this G35, and it may be an axle nut backed out or something. I'm going to check that. If it's a wheel bearing, it's a wheel bearing. No big deal. If it's an axle nut, I need to at least tighten it, and you know, because I don't want it to tear the wheel bearing up if it's just a loose axle nut. So we can tighten that up. If that fixes the thing, we're good. If not, got a bad wheel bearing, we'll just replace it and go on with it. So yeah, we'll see when we get done tomorrow. Got some people working at the rental. I did have some extra help today, and I may have another guy tomorrow, so we might get that done by the end of the week, get the guy's money on it, and we'll go from there. Hopefully put some more money in the bank and move along on that rental while I'm getting some of these cars turned out. It's been kind of working out. They've been homesteading in that rental, so I'm ready for them to move on to another project or something. I'd like to get that thing done. But, all right, here we go.
I'm feeling high. I'm feeling